We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hotep, I am that I am. Some call me Haru, your modern monk, your cannabis fitness strategist. Back at it again, here with you, here for you. About to hit you live and direct. Yes, this is You Are the Gym podcast with another podcast episode of 139. Are you accountable? Look into the mirror, not into the glass. So I'm going to be reviewing this book known as Winning with Accountability, The Secret Language of High-Performing Organizations by Henry J. Evans, copyrighted in 2008. Excuse me there, let me get some H2O there. Those who act receive the prizes. Aristotle. That's a great quote. Now, let's dive into chapter 1. Chapter 1's titled, What is Accountability Really? Let me rephrase that. What is accountability really? When accountability is on track, it's a sense of purpose. Now, with the work environments, not just the work environments, we talking even your personal relationships, accountability, being accountable, getting an understanding of what accountability is really about. Accountability creates and it develops expectations, right? So let's get on the same track here for a minute. Just jump on this row as we define accountability. As the quality of state of being accountable, an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's action. That's Webster's dictionary. Now, it's interesting too, even with that term accountability, not just that term accountability, but putting things in perspective, right? Putting things in clear commitments, a clear state of mind, a focus, a direction. Here's another great quote. People deal with us based on what they think about us, not what we think they should think about us. That's a Henry J. Evans quote. So, as we get back into this accountability, let's kind of elaborate a little bit on personal versus work accountability. Now, your personal errands, your personal duties, your personal responsibilities to yourself, you tend to have some accountability. That's some accountability. A lot of us are not disciplined. A lot of us are not even, I wouldn't even say self-motivated, but it's an understanding how you live your life on a personal level is how you live your life with a social environment or a different interacting with others, right? So those disciplines or those particular habits that you have created throughout your lifestyle, you use those in your particular work environment, right? But a lot of us don't apply those particular same principles. So this is what we're talking about within this particular book, or book of knowledge, and how to use knowledge, and how knowledge is only power when it's organized, right? So being reliable. Can people even count on you for what you're saying or going to do? These are elements that I constantly deal within my so-called consciousness or subconsciousness, or my habits, or my accountability. Accountability is also high performance. Those who are in high performance usually are very accountable, meaning no fear, no stress is involved within those particular actions that they have taken to ratify or solve a solution, solve a problem that was actually affected within their lifestyles, right? So as a leader in an organization, you must be committed to the actions that you live or take on, right? Be accountable to your own actions. Having clear expectations, and always the mission is for both parties, the sender and the receiver, to have an understanding of what's going on as far as clear expectations in via relationship, via whatever type of relationship. And we will get more into that as Stephen Covey had phrased it, relationship capital. So in summary of chapter 1, I want to just share this with you in this chapter. So basically he was breaking down a summary within this particular chapter. As it was stated, the chapter was stated, what is accountability really? So he breaks down these four points within the summary. Accountability is a positive term describing commitments that in the eyes of others have been kept. Accountability is a continually asking, how am I doing? To front load accountability in your organization, you have to provide crystal clear expectations. By front loading accountability, relationships among teams members are strengthened because they know they can count on each other. This leads to greater performance, higher quality, and better service to your clients. Excuse me. Chapter 2. We're going to dive into chapter 2. You're looking at me. You're looking at me. This is what he phrased chapter 2 on. The language of accountability. The language of accountability. That's basically what we're paraphrasing. Maybe I skipped this part here, chapter 2. This was interesting. You're looking at me. It's the next chapter, chapter 2. 3. The higher you are on the organization chart, the fewer people are or who are willing to hold you accountable. Creating a culture begins with you. This is where this come in. Looking at me. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Gandhi. You are always leading. Now, interesting enough, you are always leading. People are always watching you. This is something that I don't think people really pay attention to. I talk about this on the podcast show, probably every show, pretty much. But people are watching. They're tuning in. They're following. They're seeing what you're doing, seeing what you're up to, how you're navigating the waters, as they would say. How you're navigating the waters. And like I say, you are always leading. You have to be the best self. You got to go first. If someone is withholding information that would make you successful, provide them with the information that will help lead to their success. See, and that's another interesting segue to leading or being a leader, especially if you're in a position as a leader and, you know, a supervisor or some type of form of authority. People definitely want your information or want the needs to get to better places, right? To improve themselves. But it's one thing, too, on the other side of the table or the pendulum is that people don't want to engage. That's the thing. People don't want to engage. This is what we're seeing in the work environment. We talk about work ethics. We're talking about creating accountability. But when you're not showing it within the culture itself, how you think they're going to reflect on that? These are things that I don't think are these organizations or these higher institutions are really not paying attention. That's why we see the smaller companies succeeding more prosperous and becoming a major company, and then or a major asset, or a major asset, where now all of a sudden it's just to get by. It's no accountability, just the so-called actions that we think needs to be done, right? Instead of really measuring the elements or the issues that we can control. So back into it. That's why it's important to look ourselves first and contributions we make to the culture when we see something that is not working for the benefit of the organization. How many times do you see that in the work environment? Not just the work environment, but your personal relationships. You know what I'm saying? Socrates, the great philosopher, let him that would move the world first move himself. Right? Leo Tolstoy, the Russian novelist, the philosopher, said, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. So it's all about looking within you. As he even broke down the concept, the mirror and the glass concept. We tend to fall in that category to an extent these days as we look at these conglomerates of businesses growing to masses and taking over. It's just a few taking over each other ones and all that other fun stuff we got going here. But then it's no more accountability. Oh, we're just too big. We don't want to be accountable for anything. Pharmaceutical companies. So, Good to Be Great by Jim Collins, a great book. I have not read it yet, but he introduced the concept of leadership, mirror and glass. The looking glass, the looking good. And he just talks about that concept a little bit, goes a little deeper. So, when things go wrong, questions to ask. Where did I fail in to communicate clear expectations? Who did I forget to include in my initial discussions? What could I have done better or differently that may have resulted in a more favorable outcome? Accountable leaders pour their energy into improving what they can control rather than what they cannot ultimately control. How many of us witness that on a daily basis in the work environment? You know what I'm saying? And really, it's like no clarity of anything. What direction, who's doing what's, whose title, taking ownership, as the brother would say. Just taking ownership. Pinpoint and take full responsibility for whatever actions that you need to take to solve this situation or to solve this problem. We must first focus on change within ourselves to create the possibilities of change in others. That's why we must create within ourselves and around us mentors. You can call them mentors, guides, however you want to look at it. Accountability partners. Somebody that's going to keep you accountable to your actions, to your commitments. At the same time, you also know that accountability partner will increase your chances of success, especially if they know the route. They already been there, done that. Now I'm going to read the summary to this chapter 2. Building a culture of accountability requires time, patience, and vision, and begins with you. People are watching everything you do. You always leading one direction or another. First, focus on yourself when determining what might have gone wrong. Ask yourself, did I communicate clear expectations? Did I include the right people in my initial discussions? What could I have done better? Create accountability partners, people you invite to hold you accountable for specific tasks. Chapter 3, as we journey to the next chapter. 9/10 of life's serious controversials, I can't even say, controversials, come from misunderstanding. 9/10 of life's serious I can't even say controversials. Come from misunderstanding Louis Brandeis. Traditionally, language is perceived to be structured of how messages are sent and received. However, language actually achieves more by stimulating opinions and creating emotional responses. Now, we know to a fact, we know we have to communicate, keyword communication, throughout the whole aspect. And giving people a more clear expectations of what needs to be done or what needs our attention at that particular time, right? So he stated these 4 steps of learning a new language: hearing, recognizing, understanding, speaking. This is when your organizational change begins, right? These aspects are these 4 elements within our learning aspects. And until that, to add to that, Jim Quick's Limitless. Pick that book up. Pick it up. Just pick it up. To the great understanding. So accountability culture do not happen overnight. And that's never the case. That's never the case. And that's what I think we fail to really realize too. That I think we concentrating, or we're using our energy or taking our time to use it, to not use it is unuseful, because it's a waste of time. Majority of the time it's a waste of time. When you really put the measures in, when you really put the aspects of what the task we should be delegating each other, or our particular organization, or our particular associates, however you want to look at the structure. The key element is take ownership. Somebody take ownership. This is the project I'm going to take care of. This is what we're going to do, yada, yada, yada. Boom, boom, boom. Time Pacific, date Pacific, on point Pacific. Clear expectations. The switch happens when everyone is on board and are ready to roll in a positive environment. This is when the whole accountability culture is actually embedded within your environment, your job environment, or your business environment, however you want to look at it. Accountability is specific. For example, what date and time should I follow up with you to make sure that loop is closed? Who owns it? I try, I should, I might, yada, 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 excuses. Here's what I look like when it is completed. So you definitely given parameters, or you given goals to hit, right? Within that particular structure or direction, or detailed examples of demonstration, what you would like to see at the income. Income, yes, in your income, yes. In the deadline. High-performing leaders are skilled at listening. That's another key element. I think that's one of our lack of, is listening to the people, listening to our, significant others, listening to our relationship, social groups, whatever network groups that you're involved in. Just listening in, tuning in, seeing what they're really talking about, what's actually, I guess, agitated or giving them a problem. You create a solution, help them think about a solution. Clear view. Culture of accountability also helps eliminate redundancy. And redundancy is defined by the state of being not or no longer needed or useful. Redundancy is not in many job descriptions. That's another understanding too, that I think we really fall into, because people get into a mind where a job, you're just chilling. You're just chilling. You're not really engaging. You're not really taking yourself in. You're not diving in, right? And some jobs are demanding like that. Then you have some jobs where it's more of a mental game, where you're working with certain parameters, via sales. I mean, and it can be stressful. Certain things can be stressful. Just the timing, because that's really where it comes down. Controlling of your time, right? Controlling of your time. So we're going to dive into the summary of this particular chapter 3. Culture of accountability is a culture where all team members hold each other accountable for their commitments in a positive and a productive manner. Potholes occur when specifically a language is missing, particularly in making commitments. These potholes can be filled in with specific and accountable information. The glossary of failure contains the language we use that forecast relationship or project failure. It's ambiguous, lacks specificity, and will assertivity lead to disappointment, failure, and bad feelings. The opposite of glossary of failure is the language of accountability. It is the leader's job to reverse the momentum of a negative interactions, and anyone can be the leader. So we're going to jump right into chapter 4. Chapter 4. I can see you. I can see you clearly. I can see you clearly now. The rain is gone. I can see clearly now. So if you don't know, now you know. You're tuned in to the You Are the Gym podcast show, live with your host, the most, Haru the Modern Monk. Just wanted to touch bases with you, just kind of give you some ideas of what's going on, especially with me as I'm getting more connected to my communication aspects, to my sales aspects, to my writing ability, taking my skills to the next level where I need to, therefore grow, as they say in one of these particular nice quotes. Without clear expectations, people are being paid to guess. Right? Paid to guess. To remodel a situation, also known as reframing. So, remodeling. It's another word for reframing. Basically taking more responsibility, describing the desired outcome, and reflecting and understanding by asking for reflections from the other person. Are you seeing this? Are you getting what I'm saying? Am I clear? Can you repeat what I just said to you? Certain formulations like that, or questions range in that level. With unclear expectations, we are actually paying people to guess. This is one of the biggest, I think, I recall this is probably one of the biggest issues that these major companies are dealing with right now. With unclear expectations, we're actually paying people to guess. And this is what's going on with a lot of these companies. Not just with, doing things that you don't need them, kind of getting rid. You got to clear up the bullshit, right? You just got to clear up the bullshit. Because there's a lot of things that's going on that you don't know that's actually causing the downfall of your business, right? Expectations define a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. A belief that someone will or should achieve something, right? This concept brings everyone more effective and efficient when they have clear vision and a clear idea of what's expected. You know what I'm saying? You know what your clear view is, what we're going to do here, how we're going to set up, how we're going to be more successful. What are the measurements? What are the results that we're getting? You feel me? The clarity. Resulting the better retention. This would help out with retention, more efficiency, and better resources for you and the people you're working around. Right? So Henry offers a a learning tool. It's an acronym the acronym is known as SMART. So basically he breaks down SMART, being specific. M, measurable. A, obtainable. R, results orientated. T, trackable. E, ethical. R, recorded. So let's dive deeper into this acronym, SMARTER. And it's a tool for you to kind of grasp and use it as a guideline for those of people you're hiring or firing, whatever the case may be, so you can kind of be more specific on what you expect from their work ethic with the rules and routines, or however you want to look at your duties, however you want to look at it. So Pacific, he breaks down, have I described and provided a visual of the behaviors and deadlines required for a good job performance? So this is a question you would ask to be Pacific, right? Providing these elements, providing tools for those, or for those people, or you, him, them, they, or however you want to look at it. Very clear job performance, what you're looking at, how you should go about certain processes. If you don't know the processes, this is who you go to, yada, yada, yada. Measurable. Can my request be measured? Does it have a clearly defined completion point? When is it all said and done, can you actually measure it? If the request was done, if you make the request, go out and increase sales, that's not measurable. If you say instead, go out and sell 1 million to new customers this month, that's measurable. It has a clear, defined completion point. Now, I think this is one of the problems we're having with the retail industry. The retail industry is not really as clear. It's not as predictable as I think they're doing. This is one of the other elements that I think they're measuring some of the wrong metrics, right? Now, the quality of the product, first and foremost, I think that's the most important element. Even though most of these companies are going sideways, they're making bullshit product. Let me just throw that out there. They're making bullshit product and have the nerve to, it's kind of like a slap in the face too. You have the nerve to keep complaining about all these people are returning shit, right? Returning shit, breaking the shit, right? Coming in, keep rebuying, paying for more and more stuff as you go. Garbage. Let's keep it real with you. Fake plastic, fake this, fake that, imitations. And then you got the nerve to complain about the shrink or the theft and all this other increments where you're not even creating it as, here's the liability. You know what the liability is going to be. So let's make a home for that. Let's make a measure for that element. This liability. We know we're going to be getting theft at this particular at this particular time, at this particular area, right? So these are certain things I think we don't really pay attention to because our economy is creating the inaccountability. Can I say that again? Our economy is creating inaccountability, non-responsibility, don't want to do shit responsibility type mentality. You feel what I'm saying? Just want to get by. As I move on. A for attainable. It is realistic for this person or this team to achieve and accomplish my request within the stated guidelines. Are they capable? Do they have the right resources to accomplish the expected outcome? Whew. Now, how many people with the incompetencies that we're working with? It's a lot of incompetencies out there, right? It's a lot of things that is not common anymore. But at the same time, we can teach it. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, are they willing to learn it? That's the case. The accountability, the attainable, capable, right? Are results orientated. Excuse me. If you don't know now, you know. You're on You Are the Gym podcast show live here with Haru. We talking about Accountability. Winning with accountability. Are you accountable? That's really the case. 139 episode. Just keeping it moving. R, results oriented. Does this request move us closer to our objective? Is it possible to make a request that doesn't get us anywhere, near where we need to be? We don't want tasks that simply cause us to work. We want the tasks that causes us to get change accomplished. Whew. Deep. 2008, this brother, Henry J. Evans, already hitting it up. He had done studies over a few years within this particular booklet, talking about the percentages and whatnot. And Daniel Pink is another great resource when it comes to this type of understanding about results within the work environment and what's going on in the work environment. And I did do a podcast show a couple episodes back called Jobs. Deadbeat jobs. Deadbeat jobs, it might be something. It's on that level. Deadbeat jobs. Or jobs, you don't need a job, in other words. Trackable. T for trackable. What milestones will ensure that we are on the right track to accomplish our goals? How will we measure performance milestones during this effort? Okay, so we usually do performance, right? Performance reviews within our particular business models. Now, I think we do enough of them, but I think there got to be a little more constructed to, I guess, train you or put you into the next position, right? I think it should be like that for every position within. Even if you're starting out in the lot or something at a retail Walmart or something, you start out in a lot, then you move your way up, and you're actually adding more value, you're adding more skills, and they're literally demonstrating that within the particular format. You're demonstrating that within your lifestyle, how you getting down, what you're doing, your engagement, whatnot, your communication, your work action, your accountability. And E is for ethical. I like this brother done went over. Is the request legal, moral, or ethical? Does what you're doing align with your organizational and personal values? That is one of the biggest concerns within the work environment, especially if you don't vibe with the morals and ethics of this particular business that you're working for or company that you have created. People always talk about, well, you don't have to be passionate about, a certain, I guess, career if it's making you all this money and this and that. But most of the time, people are not happy, right? People are not happy. So it's more than that. It's a little more than that. You definitely, it's go ethical. It's more moral. It's a value, and it's in you subconsciously. It's in you consciously. You feel me? Certain values and certain ethics that your job environment might not be providing. You know what I'm saying? It's against your morals and values. That's like me as a Muslim, right? And I just use this as an example. As a Muslim, but I got a liquor store. My values are not there, right? My values shouldn't be there if I have a moral understanding of, in a man or in a woman, that I know this alcohol is harming my people, right? Or people in general. So that's just an example there. R is for recorded. Is there a record or a second person who knows about the request or the effort? There should be a point of reference, something people look for guidance, aside from the originator. This is another example of what we don't do in a business or in a, let me say, in a retail environment. We really don't show excellence as a manager or as a boss, or if you want to even go there as a leader, right? Showing it's got to be action, right? And it's got to be where we can go to certain people, certain people who knows what they're doing and knows how to do it right the first time, not 23, 4, 5 times, right? Going behind people, redoing stuff. That just don't make sense. Logically, that don't make sense. So here's some examples of some questions you can start asking or posing to your associates or to those of you who closer to you, who want to, you're building a project, you got a project going. I'm working on opening this gym. Literally, I'm working on opening this gym. I've been so accountable. I've been getting some things, checking out the properties, seeing what areas are actually going to bring me the most bang for my buck. You feel me? So here's some questions you might want to consider within this accountability understanding. What does what I just said mean to you? I explained this to the best of my abilities, but what did you actually hear? What does this look like to you when it's done? Now, these are good questions, good follow-up questions, good clarity for expectation questions. So this is where the data, the information, and information is not power unless it's organized. This is where I think where the problem lies too, because we want to keep everything up in our head, right? What time we do this, what time we do that, how we get up here, boom, 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 instead of organizing our time, right? Time is key element in everything we do. It's not just the money, even though the money is just a part of the equation, but time is the real essence. That's the real matrix, per se. As you sense miscommunication before you assign blame to others, first check yourself to make sure you're providing clear expectations on every step of the way. As the brother said, master clarity. Master clarity. So I'm going to read the summary of this chapter. The first piece of accountability puzzle is clarity. When we make a request with clear expectations, we create visual representation that all parties can see. Your team will be motivated, focused, working on the right thing, right? If specifically is missing in your request, being Pacific is missing in your request, accountability gaps are created. The first step into bridging these accountability gaps is setting clear visual expectations, replacing ambiguity with pacificality. Do not confuse accountability with consequences. They are related and different. Consequences should simply be stated as part of setting clear expectations by communicating consequences as part of the front-loaded clear expectations. We have created accountability. Indeed, accountability. As we move forward to chapter 5, it's time to get Pacific. It's time to get Pacific. Timing is everything in a culture of accountability. As being Pacific, more and more miscommunication goes down, right? Miscommunication goes down as you more precise, right? As you more in detail, as you develop more clarity to what the outcome should look like, right? Or be like. This is the vision. And giving people that vision, give them that ability, give them that ownership. Time Pacific improves productivity, morale, and results. When you speak in specific dates and times, you're actually causing the people who are listening to create a visual picture. When they get this visual picture, they will better retain what is being said. So what helps me, I like to draw out. I like to write everything. I'm very visual. This has been one of my tools when I'm working with my particular associates or working with my particular athletes that I encounter with my fitness endeavor. This brings us to that term, or two terms come to mind: deadlines and timelines. I'm more productive in a 2-hour planning blocks, so my time was committed in a multiple blocks of 2 hours. A deadline is when work is due. A timeline is when the work gets done. And in a culture of accountability, it's when the work gets done that really counts. That really counts. So schedule your tasks as meetings on your calendar and start and finish them at times, on time as other people were involved in your meeting. So definitely, here's a tool, idea, or concept. Take the time to schedule everything out. That's what I'm going to start doing on my, as I move forward here. I'm going to start doing that more, taking that task into heart by scheduling everything within 2-hour periods where I can actually manage my particular day and be more focused in on my time, because time management is really the key element, like I have said throughout this show today. The biggest sticking points in accountability culture is managing your time, right? By prioritizing your time around what's most important, what's most important. And this is where you come with the reflection. This is where you come with the meditation, to take the time to see what's really important to you. It don't have to be 15 million things in the day. Just focus on one element, one or two, I would say 1 to 3 elements per day, and work on accomplishing them, finishing certain projects that you started over the last couple years or couple days, or however you want to look at it. We need to know that at the end of the day, what we did get done is more important than what we didn't get done. Our priorities must be aligned with our commitments. Now, if you don't got no commitments, what are you even involved in? What are you doing? Bullshitting? Bullshit Jobs, that's the title of it. Bullshit Jobs. That book I was just talking about. I did a podcast show on it a while ago. Bullshit Jobs. So let me go into this summary on chapter 5 here. The language of accountability is specific about dates, times, and time zones. It's also realistic when it comes to managing time and aligning priorities with time and resources available. 2. Time specifically, which is vital to creating a culture of accountability, works with timelines, not deadlines. Time specifically can protect your integrity. Wow. So to the next chapter, as we go into chapter 6, within The Winning with Accountability, The Secret Language of High-Performing Organizations by Henry J. Evans, copyrighted in 2008. As I'm going through this book review with you, just kind of giving you some understanding, some overstanding about accountability and how accountability is really affected in not just your personal life, but your work environment as well. Or work ethic, let me say it like that. Work ethic / personal. Because who's in charge here anyway? There are no teams in ownership. Y'all feel me? There's no teams in ownership. Always be clear on who is the owner. That's another thing. Always clear on who's the owner, who's running what, who's actually in control of what when it comes to your priorities, when it comes to your task or certain duties that you have to accomplish, right? People follow people more than they follow plans. Hint, people. Hint, client, customers, patients, right? What are they doing? What are their actions? How can we set up our own success, right? Who's going to own this concept and then each action within it? The optimal situation is to have people spending most of their time doing what they are best at doing. How many times your company, you see this all the time? We put people in positions that don't have no idea of what they're doing, and they're not even showing no interest in even engaging into learning the new skill. But we tend to put these so-called incompetents or lower performers within this category, instead of giving them the opportunity to stay on something that they're good at, that they're great at, that they can actually excel at. This is a big problem. I think this is a huge problem within the job atmosphere, within the big business atmosphere. We're seeing it through Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, Google, all these crazy companies. You're seeing it. Meta, right? Facebook, all these companies are dealing with that crap. The bottom line is that the organization should be focused on having people doing what they are best at doing most of the time. I do understand comfortability. I understand that. That's why I don't think people should be at a job no longer than 5 years. 7 at the most. If that, if you can even hang with that. If your company's still the same company in 7 years. That's what the environment of You Are the Gym Club Academy is really going to bring to the picture. I have some concepts that I see that works in the environment. I need you and those and they to come help me prove everyone wrong with the support of the academy. Does your organizational chart today support the organizational structure and vision you have for tomorrow? How big is that? Those who's tuning in, y'all tuning in to You Are the Gym podcast show. Your host, Haru, the Modern Monk. Your cannabis fitness strategist, back at it again. Here, showing you love, opening your eyes, getting you to think a little bit. As I read the summary of chapter 6. Only one person should be the owner of a task. A team cannot own a task. The buck stops with the owner of a project, even if every task has been delegated. Assign ownership by competence first. Bandwidth, time, second. Today's organizational chart should support your vision of tomorrow's organization. Whew. This brother was hitting you up. He was hitting you up. Chapter 7, Going Public. Accountability is born when 2 or more people know about a commitment. Right? Know about a commitment. Checking in versus following up. Following up usually occurs at the end of the project. And it sounds like this. Is it done? Or can I see your productivity report. Checking in occurs during the process and sounds like, I know you're working on the Project X. How's that going? Or I know you plan to lose 5 pounds by August 25th. What's your weight today, August 20th? Leadership versus vulnerability. Vulnerability, I like to define that. The quality or state of being vulnerable, exposure, liability, openness. In a culture of accountability, being vulnerable means that if you want people to proactive, share commitments with you, then go first, and whether it's going upstream or downstream and sharing your commitments with others. It is important to invite and welcome people to hold you accountable. How many of us doing that? Inviting those who you respect. Let me throw that out there. Who you respect to hold you accountable. As Stephen Covey had said, as I stated before, relationship capital, building relationship capital. Unfortunately, the higher someone is in the organizational chart, the tougher the truth is to discover. Unfortunately, the higher someone is on the organizational chart, the tougher the truth is to discover. Now, if you deliver the truth upstream, you have done your job. If you're afraid to deliver the truth upstream, you are not fulfilling your obligation to the team, to nobody. You ain't even accountable to yourself. That's how bad that is. You must let go to grow. You know what I'm saying? You must let go to grow. We all know this. This is the whole point of what fear has enabled people to do. It locks you down from what's going to happen, what's over the fence. You know, who knows, right? Who knows? You just have to stay positive as you can with the outcome, right? What I do now is building relation requires time, energy, and sharing mutual goals, right? Tough conversations that are uncomfortable are part of building relationships, right? We all got to go through that. Even with your significant other, you're always going to be on some disagreements. That's part of it. You can always use this SMART model, as the brother stated in the earlier chapters, the SMART model. Use that. Add that to your skill set. You know what I'm saying? Add that to your communication skills. Step your game up. You know, shared accountability makes you a better relationship builder. This is what makes you a better relationship builder, period. Going public. Going public. Yep, we going public. And I want to read this summary to you. 1. Accountability begins when 2 or more people know about a commitment. 2. Accountability goes upstream and downstream. 3. You go first. 4. Relationship capital must be deposited continually. Right? Continually. Chapter 8. Your role in creating accountability culture. The first great gift we can bestow on others is a good example. Thomas Morrill. Step 1. Front-loading expectations. Right? Understanding. Clear. Be specific on dates and times. Take ownership. Be the owner of the project or whatever task that you have been given. Right? Step 2. You have the power. You have the power. The power lies in you. You are the owner. You are the manifestation. You are the sentient being. You are the empowered one. You are the one. You are the Jesus. You are the God. You are the Buddha. You are the Christ. You are all. So take accountability. Take responsibilities. It's in your hands, as the brother would say. In your hands. In high accountability cultures, the true leader is anyone who reverses the negative momentum of an interaction so that it is focused on a solution. Are you feeling me? I don't know if y'all feeling me, if y'all with me. Because we just breaking down this. I'm just reviewing this book, Winning with Accountability, The Secret of High Performing Organizations by Henry J. Evans. Copyrighted 2008. That brother sound real professional. I need to do this on my voice is sounding so melodic. I figure I go ahead and go into a higher step and just go into step 3. Look into the mirror, not the glass. Now, if y'all with me, at the beginning of this show, I had mentioned that same title, Look into the Mirror, Not into the Glass. Now, the more feedback you give yourself, oh boy, the more constructive feedback, right? The more constructive feedback comes from you looking into the mirror and observing or analyzing yourself or evaluating you, your consciousness, your morals, your values, your skill sets, and how you can become better, right? Reflecting on becoming better, improving, moving up. Gotta go. Oh, I'm sorry. Step 4. Motto, what you wish to achieve. So he broke down some concepts. He said a clear expectation plus specific dates and times plus an owner plus sharing equals stronger relationships, which then create personal and professional success. Professional success. You are the winner here. Act it. Become the communication god or goddess. To be able to achieve the highest of high, understanding how to be more accountable. You feel me? So what's the takeaways? That is conclusion of this particular. I'm sorry. Let me get one more state up in there, brothers and sisters. One more state up in there, brothers and sisters. We're gonna end it. Summary. Let me read the summary to this last chapter. International actions or intentional actions, Intentional actions occurs when your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned with your desired outcomes and or goals. The fact is that implementing a strategy involves a willingness to be imperfect and encourage to proceed without all of the necessary information and how to move ahead when things are uncertain. That's key. That's key to a leader. That's key to being an accountable leader. Accountable, responsible leader, right? Taking on the initiative, taking on the actions that needs to be taken on to move forward within our society or within your consciousness or your spiritual awakening. The summary. 1. Accountability in organizations rests with the individuals who lead it. Remember, the leader is anyone on the organizational chart who reverses the momentum of a negative interaction. 2. Accountability is front-loaded with clear expectations, specific dates and time, clear ownership, and shared understanding. You experience better outcomes. 3. Thoughts drive by feelings, and feelings drive actions. Always operate from a place where your thoughts and feelings are in alignment with your desired outcomes and or goals. Now, let me share with you. That is the conclusion of this short, powerful, engaging information, Winning with Accountability, the Secret Language of High-Performing Organizations by Henry J. Evans, copyrighted 2008. I just reviewed, sharing pinpoints that actually resonated with myself, the modern monk, yes, but made common sense and putting it in a format where it makes common sense as I implement it within my lifestyle, within my communication of choice, right? Being active, being engaging, and being able to teach or manifest this information to others, share it with others. Until next time, this is your podcast show, You Are the Gym, with your host with the most, Haru, the modern monk, your cannabis fitness strategist. I'm out. Much love, happiness to the world. Hotep.
Are you avoiding the fun or reducing your income because you're afraid to be in public? Not because you're unsociable or because you're sickly, but because you believe that you could become a victim of a virus? Dr. Moreno, the creator of Method Moreno, simplifies terms associated with COVID and diseases induced by vaccines, while showing proven methods that enable you to strengthen your immunity, reverse the conditions originating after vaccines, and interpret the repetitive words of media with confidence. Release your fears by becoming more knowledgeable with How to Minimize Dis-ease, enhanced by Vaccine Association.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.